Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's nice and early in my house. I'm the only person up, and I got to thinking this morning, it's been a while since I've tried to make a hated font or a maybe not liked too much font try to look good. So today I'm going to try to make Times New Roman look good, and in my opinion, it's not so much really that this is a terrible font. I don't know if it's hated necessarily so much as just not very well liked, but I think that the main problem of it lies within its auto kerning. So what we're going to do is try to just make it look good by adjusting the kerning. And we need some kind of a subject for the poster, so let's think of a movie. I think that's a good idea. And what we'll do is, since Times New Roman is supposed to be this classy font, let's think of a classy movie. I've got it. Dumb and Dumber. Perfect classy movie. So let's jump in Illustrator and have some fun. All right, so I'm really gonna go for it here by making my canvas 27 by 40. That is an official movie size poster. So we are going to set this up just like it is an actual movie poster for Dumb and Dumber, which is a very classy movie. Not Dumb and Doimber, we're gonna do Dumb and Dumber. All right, so Times New Roman. So let's go ahead and do that. Oh, there it is. I haven't used this font. I don't know if I've ever used this font, but really here, if you look at this, it's not the worst font ever. It's not Comic Sans. It's not Hobo, which I don't think Hobo is a straight up terrible font. It may have its uses in some instances, but I don't think that I would ever actually use Comic Sans, except ironically. Anyway, when you line up Times New Roman alongside Comic Sans, Hobo, or maybe some other ones that I can't think of right now, Times New Roman's not that bad. All right, so what we're gonna do here is lay out the typography. Not exactly sure what all I'm gonna be putting onto the poster. Obviously, I'm gonna try to keep it as minimal as possible. I do wanna find a nice picture of a briefcase that we can put on there to make it super ultra classy. We're gonna do like a black and white only poster for this. So let's do the classic design thing where we just go ahead and lay out our type, and then we can just make adjustments from there. So there we go. We'll get the main three players of the movie there, and then we'll say a Farrelly Brothers film. Look at that. It's so classy, it doesn't even have a ligature. And then let's look for something that will add a little bit of humor to this poster, even if it's really subtle. So I want to see if I can find something positive from a critic like maybe Roger Ebert or something like that, because he was alive when this movie came out, and I do believe he actually reviewed this movie. So let's see what we can find. Dumb and Dumber, Roger Ebert. And there's his review and film summary. He gave the movie 2 whole stars, which I think it deserves 4.5 out of 4. Okay, so let's kind of scan through here, you know, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to just see what I can do here. You could do something like this. The purpose of a comedy is to make you laugh, and there's a moment in Dumb and Dumber that made me laugh so loudly I embarrassed myself. I just couldn't stop. It's a moment involving the kids who gets the parakeet, which is hysterical. I love that part. But what you could do is you could begin the quote with an ellipsis and just go like ... made me laugh so loudly I embarrassed myself. Roger Ebert. So it just makes it look like he enjoyed the entire movie. I'm gonna scan the rest of it really quickly to see if there's anything else that could possibly, you could just do "It's strange," Roger Ebert. Or you could do something that is entirely out of context. So the elements are here for a better movie, and Jim Carrey, I am now convinced, is a true original. So what you could say is you could do ... a true original. And just completely take the quote out of context. Although I think I'll still use an out of context quote, but I just really like this one. Okay, so a quick tip here to do a correct ellipsis in Illustrator is to do Option or Alt and the colon symbol. If you want it to be professional, don't do ... Make sure you do it the right way. And now we'll add the quotes here at the front and the back. And this right here is a perfect example of why this font is not so great, is because that by default, look at where that F is hitting that quote right there. You would have to do optical kerning on this, and even then you would still have to manually adjust the spacing. But that's our one job today, to make Times New Roman look as good as we can. So I'm gonna be spending the time in kerning all of this text. However, before I do that, we need to get our text placed, and I need to figure out exactly where that briefcase image is gonna go. So I think what I'll do here is just kind of move everything off the board for a second, and we'll just grab the rectangle tool here, and we'll just define where that briefcase is gonna go. So I'm gonna go all the way to the edges really quick, and then I'm gonna bring it in by about 2 inches or so. And I don't think it's gonna take up quite that much space, so let's do this. Go 1, 2, and then divide this by 2, and that'll be where the briefcase will go to keep all of our margins nice and clean. Okay, so let's start here with Dumb and Dumber, the actual title of the movie. So I'm gonna go in here and adjust our kerning really quickly. And like I've said before, if you just go in and manually adjust the kerning, then the font itself is not that bad. So let's match what we did before, -10, and then this right here is also a -10, and then here, that's -40. And then we'll just kind of bring this right here to, that looks good, -40. And then this right here, -20. It's a little bit tight right there, so let's just kind of push that back out a little bit. And then the same thing here. And let's also adjust the leading. So we'll just kind of bring this up here. We want kind of a classy look. This kind of looks like it might be some kind of a like perfume line or something like that. Okay, I like the addition of that period right there. For some reason, I think it just works. Okay, and what do you think? Should we go bold with the title? I think that works well. Although because we did that, I think we should tighten up our kerning a little bit more. And then we'll just copy the word dumb and paste that right there. All right, that's looking good. All right, so now let's bring our main players over, and we've got just a few things to adjust here, not too bad. Let's go ahead and start off with optical, and then we can just use that as our springboard. This is not the worst kerning job that I've seen optical alignment do, although we are working with Times New Roman, so we have to keep that in mind. Okay, let's bring this in a little bit. Where Daniel's looks good, I think we may bring it in just a touch more. Definitely need to bring these two closer together. It's interesting how so much of kerning can really be personal opinion, but it's something you really want to work at getting good at as a designer, because it is definitely an art. Okay, so we'll do that right there, and we'll align everything left, and we'll just kind of set this at the 2-inch mark, I think. 2 inches is plenty of margin. All right, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna align this to this type, and since we have all of our kerning done and everything exactly the way we want, I'm gonna go ahead and create outlines for this. That way we can get our alignment exactly where we want it to go. And we can go ahead and do that with our cast as well. So let's reset that to 2 inches exactly. And then we'll do this at 2 inches and maybe 4 inches. And let's have this take up a pretty good amount. And we'll just go all the way to the right there with that 2-inch margin on the right side. And then let's go in and adjust the kerning here because it really needs some love. Okay, optical really did clean that up a lot. So I don't think we'll have to do too much here, just a little bit of adjustment. When you've got two serif characters like this, you want to make sure that they're nice and close together, but not quite touching. And there's not even an option with this font to turn it into a ligature because, as you can see, we've got standard ligatures on and nothing's happening. So it's best to just kind of space it out a little bit. You don't want it to be too much, but I think that just that amount of space right there is fine. And I never ever worked with this font, and before, I never really had a reason. Now I have a reason. It doesn't do ligatures. Okay, so now we'll create outlines there. And let's bring this to 2 inches right here. And I think the size of it for 1 inch overall would be just fine. All right, this one I want to do in italics. And let's go ahead and create outlines there. And we'll move this to 2 inches. And I'm not really too concerned about the exact placement. Well, I'll just say 20 inches. That's fine. And then we'll just make it a nice round 1 inch tall. All right, so now we've got our little review blurb here from Roger Ebert that is totally not taken out of context. Normally I wouldn't do this, but I lined up that ellipsis with that quotation mark and I think it's funny for some reason. Okay, so overall the spacing here is looking pretty good. I think what I might do here is maybe set this to 80 and then set the leading to about 80. And now we just gotta push out this quotation mark just a little bit. But overall, this particular combination of words is actually looking pretty good. All right, so now let's attribute it to Roger Ebert, and we'll say the Chicago Sun-Times, and we'll make this line half the size, so we'll go down to 40. And then let's go into paragraph here and reduce our space after just a little bit, maybe like -10 points. And let's put the quote in bold and this in italic. There we go, nice and classy. After looking at this, I think I'm gonna adjust this a little bit, just down to 2 lines. I think that looks good. And then we'll keep the leading nice and universal. This seems like it would be a little bit too far down, but if you measure right here, the actual leading right here between the lines, then you can see that they line up perfectly. Sometimes you wanna do that, and then sometimes you wanna optically align it. But I think in this case, we'll be just fine. All right, so it made me laugh so loudly, I embarrassed myself. Just a quote taken completely out of context, but still said by Roger Ebert from the Chicago Sun-Times. All right, so now let's create outlines and let's place this exactly where we want it. 2 inches will be just fine. And now let's change our anchor point to the bottom and we'll just align it with the bottom of the briefcase image. And I'm thinking what I might do here is align this to the top of that and then just bring it down a little bit in size. All right, I think overall we're looking pretty good. So let's go ahead and find an image of a briefcase. All right, I've got my file set up here in Photoshop, and I did find a little briefcase image here. We may have to enlarge this, but what I'm gonna do is go into Illustrator, and we're gonna take everything that's in here and just paste this as a smart object. And what that's gonna do is that's gonna put that black box right here exactly where I wanna put my briefcase. So we'll just kind of adjust this right here, and that's looking good. It's totally fine that we went past this because all we have to do is double click into our Vector Smart Object, take out the black box, hit save, go back into Photoshop, and now it's gone. All right, and what I'll do here is I will adjust this to be like right there at the bottom with the rest of that type. And now I'm gonna set a new guide layout of 2 inches of margin all the way around. So that way we can line up our briefcase exactly with those guides. And we could do the same thing over here. And now what we can do to kind of class this up a little bit more is to add a very subtle layer of grain. So I'm gonna do a 50% gray fill, go over here to filter and camera raw filter, and do a level of grain at about 25 for size and a 50 for roughness. That looks good. And we'll do a -25 on a vignette. And now change this blending mode to overlay. And if you want it to show up in the white areas, you need to add a solid color layer at about maybe 95% white. And then of course you have this right here. All we have to do is cycle through our blending modes until that white disappears, and it looks like darken is what did it. And we can't see the grain effect on the type because our type is too dark. So we're gonna double click on Vector Smart Object, select everything, go over here, raise this up to about 20%, hit save. And now it's brightened up our type, and we can see that nice subtle pattern of that grain. All right, so here it is, our classy Dumb and Dumber poster trying to use Times New Roman to make it look good. All right, well, that was a fun little challenge. I always like taking fonts that people don't generally like and try to see if I can make them look good. I hope I taught you something in Illustrator or Photoshop today. If you like this video, please hit like and subscribe at the bottom and click the bell for notifications to be notified of all future videos. Thanks a lot for watching and subscribing, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.